We need to talk. A couple of weeks ago, I published a video about going from the iPhone 17 Pro Max back to the iPhone 17. I always do that. The iPhone Air. It's not called the iPhone 17 Air, is it? A lot of people get that wrong, including me, clearly. Yeah, from that to that, and back to this, because I did start life with this back in September when it first came out, and then I got fed up with the battery and the camera. Those two things. I missed my Pro Max, basically. So I went back to the Pro Max, and then about a month ago, I really started yearning for this, partly because I saw more and more people using it in my industry, and I just felt a bit bad for it. I'd kind of cast it to one side and forgotten about it. So I picked it back up, I swapped everything back to the iPhone Air. It is my main phone now, and I utterly love it. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people commented on that video saying that they've had the iPhone Air since launch, or they've had it for the last few months, and they love it because it's thin, it's beautiful, it's just a different iPhone, it's got one-handedness going on. It's just a fantastic device, and I completely agree. However, I do have to be honest, and I don't just use the iPhone Air. There's no way that I can just get away with this in my industry, because I do lots of filming and taking photos on my phone, and I do quite a bit of traveling as well. So I need a good camera and I need a good battery. That has resulted in a setup which you might find interesting. I do get quite a few requests for an insight into what I use each day. And just saying that I use the iPhone Air each day isn't strictly true, because I have another phone with me all the time, and I have a way of managing the battery on this now as well. So this will be of interest, I think, to anyone who's thinking about getting the iPhone Air. I think it will be of interest to anyone who's got the iPhone Air and fancies bolstering their setup a little bit, and maybe just doing the kind of the YouTuber thing that we do, and having more than one device. Let's get into this. I think it's worth explaining what I do with the iPhone Air, because you might be thinking, okay, you've got two phones. Which one gets the most use? It's the iPhone Air. This is my main phone, so it's got everything on it. It's got all my bank cards on it. It's got every app that I use every single day. So that means I'm using it for paying for things. I'm using it for communicating, email, Slack, WhatsApp, messages, paying for parking. I take a lot of photos with it. In fact, I was thinking about this earlier. I think I take 90% of the photos and videos that I need either for this business or for my personal life on the iPhone Air. I only reach for better cameras if I absolutely need to, which I'll come on to in a moment, the reasons for that. But for most regular phone camera tasks, this is fantastic, because the one-time zoom on this, the one times regular zoom lens, is brilliant. It really takes beautiful photos, and iPhones are still the best video shooters on the market. So it gets used for most of the reels and things that I do in this studio. And if I'm out and about and I'm doing stories for Instagram, this is the phone that I'm using to take those videos. So it's very much my everyday phone. And the things it does fantastically alongside that, it's this beautifully thin and very different feeling iPhone. If you come from an iPhone Pro Max or a regular iPhone, or I don't know, an iPhone SE even, this feels so different and in a very pleasing way. So when you're texting people on it, when you're just using it like that, it's, you can feel the thinness, you can feel how tough this thing is as well. Mine is naked, it's completely naked. There's no screen protector either, and I've dropped it a couple of times, not on particularly horrible surfaces, but there were surfaces where you think, ugh, and it's fine, there's not a mark on it. So it's I think it is the toughest iPhone that Apple has ever made. So when it's naked, and it has to be naked, it does this very, very clever thing of feeling like no other iPhone you've ever used. And that means something, I think. So the Air is absolutely my main phone, but I do have a second phone. Before we talk about that second phone, I want to talk about the battery very quickly and charging, because the iPhone Air does have an Achilles heel, which is the battery size. It's much smaller than, for instance, the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which means if you've got a particularly heavy day, or if you're doing a lot of traveling, which is what I do very regularly, you are going to chew through the battery in this pretty quickly. For me, if I'm having one of those very busy days or a traveling day, by about 4 p.m, I need to start charging this, which brings me very conveniently to this week's sponsor, UGREEN. I've been using these two power banks with the iPhone Air for the last few weeks, and they are game-changing. First up, we have the UGREEN MagFlow Air. This is a permanent fixture on the back of my iPhone Air because, not permanent, it's on there a lot, because look at it. It's so thin, and it has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in there. In fact, it's just 8.6mm thick, which means it's thinner than a lot of phones. And it supports Qi 2 wireless charging, which means you can charge your iPhone to 33% in just 30 minutes wirelessly. If you want, you can charge it via the USB-C cable, so you can pop one into there, into your phone, and you get 20 watts. Then we have this, which is the 10,000 milliamp hour version, which is 13.9mm thick, which is still very thin. And you can see on the iPhone Air there, it looks very good. It doesn't add too much bulk, and it charges very quickly. In fact, it delivers 30 watt two-way charging. And this one has this very handy built-in USB-C cable, which means I can plug it into the iPhone Air and get full speed charging. And yes, this doubles as a very handy strap. You can even charge 3 things with this, so you can attach it to your phone like that, plug that into something, and use that USB-C connection there to charge something else. They both use MagSafe, obviously, to attach to the back of your phone. They're very, very strong magnets, and they use something called diamond cell technology, which has 13 layers of protection, which means they're very safe. I can't live without these. What I do is I rotate them, basically. So I charge that every day. I keep that topped up, and I take one with me depending on where I'm going. If I've got a long day, then I take the 10,000 milliamp hour one, although to be honest, I can just take both because they're so small. These have saved my bacon numerous times, and they are an essential accessory for the iPhone Air. Check them out in the description, and let's get on to the secondary phone. Right, the second phone. This is where things get a little bit YouTubery, so you will have to indulge me for a second. I always have the iPhone with me. The iPhone Air is always with me. It has my main SIM in here, the main eSIM that I've had for many, many years. But I have a secondary SIM that goes into my second phone. And that second phone, 9 times out of 10, is an Android phone. There's 2 stages to this. The first stage is the review period. So let's pretend that it's the review period for the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. I put my second SIM in here, and I transfer as much stuff, all the apps and things that I use every day, to this phone, and I use it as my main phone. The iPhone Air remains with me, it's always there, but I force myself to use the review phone as my main phone so I can review it properly, basically. Then, when we have the kind of fallow period where there's no reviews, there's no new Android releases, which these days isn't very, very regularly, but occasionally that does happen. I default to my kind of main Android phone, which typically is the Samsung S whatever Ultra. That's normally my second phone, and I slip back into using this pretty much full time. And the Samsung device is there to take photo. Well, I'll explain what that's there for in a second. Sometimes though, I do just fancy trying something else. And when phones like this come along, the Find X9 Ultra, when they're this good, when they're this good and this orange, I do occasionally just pick them back up and start using them again. And the camera system on this is just insane. The battery life on this is insane, and it looks incredible, but it's a real chunk. It's a massive phone. So switching between that and that it's a bit jarring. It really is, which means having the 2 of them is a bit of a luxury, because when I've had enough of the size of this, I can just use the iPhone Air. And when the iPhone Air is struggling battery-wise or camera-wise, I can just whip this out. So again, not a very common use case at all, but the times that during that fallow period where there's no review process going on, the reasons I reach for this phone, this secondary phone, is mainly the camera system. It really is. If I need to reach 10 times zoom or get a nice wide shot of something, that's where this comes out. And again, if I'm traveling, I tend to use both of these phones 50-50, because in doing that, I'm sort of saving some of the battery life on this. Why does that always happen when you're filming? And all of this brings me to an inevitable conclusion. This is a power user setup. It's a YouTuber thing. Most... Ow. Has that damaged it? That's a good test, isn't it? No, it's absolutely fine. My glasses probably aren't. No, they're fine as well. This isn't a normal thing at all, and I think, well, I can't think of any reason why you'd spend twice the amount of money and have 2 things that you've got to carry around, and potentially 2 SIM cards, 2 carrier contracts. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? However, I can't help but notice in the comments that quite a few people seem to have more than one phone. A lot of you comment and say, oh yeah, I've got the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Samsung S26 Ultra. I use both, which either means you're a YouTuber like me, or maybe you're just a dual phone person. Maybe one is a work device, maybe the other one is a personal device. I don't know, but I'm always surprised by how many people say, oh yeah, I've got 2 phones. I've got the Oppo Find X9 Ultra and the iPhone 17 Pro Max, or I've got the iPhone Air and I've got the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I take both with me. I find that fascinating, which means this video wasn't a waste of time. You might have been watching this thinking, what's he talking about? Why is he indulging us with all this YouTuber, dual setup stuff? It doesn't make sense. But I think it does, because there is clearly a bunch of people out there who do very similar things. Equally, it illustrates that if you're not one of those people, the iPhone Air is so good. I'm starting to think that the iPhone Air is one of the best iPhones Apple has ever made. Because if you're not power hungry, if you're not camera hungry, if you don't do loads of traveling all the time, it does such a good job, and it feels so different to anything else. Guys, as always, it's down to the comments now. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're doing with your phones, your multiple phones, your single phone, your iPhone Air, whatever it might be. Get involved, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you know what to do.